Good evening, Muttonistas! Second stop on my grand tour of the US, and after the mayhem of Boston, I've moved on to New York. Just a few hours on a train, which I massively prefer to taking planes, and I've landed up as my first stop at Bartley, Dunne's. If Boston was mad, I think this is going to be even madder. So join me for today's and a 3 or 4 day vlog about the pubs and stouts in New York. Okay, Muttonistas, Bartley Dunne's the start of my New York tour, and I've tried to calm it down a bit and do 3 pub days instead of 4 because those are absolutely exhausting and I'll be running on fumes by the end of this. Anyway, tonight 2 pubs. Bartley Dunne's first. It's been established for a couple of years now. It was something else. I think maybe COVID forced whatever it was before to change. Enough waffle. I think there's a rapturous welcome waiting for me inside, and I also think whatever I saw in Boston is going to be magnified big time in the Big Apple.
Mr. Hackett.
Hi.
Big wet.
Well, what about that, Muttonistas? What a rapturous welcome again. It was like Boston on steroids. In fact, it felt like one of those, shall we say, welcomes that Mr. Kim from Korea gets, except for the difference is that the Muttonistas who are enjoying their pints mean it. So let's give this Bartley Dunne's pint a review. Now, it looks pretty good in terms of the head and the dome. Pretty clean white head, no bubbles. Temperature good, not too cold, but not warm either. The people I've spoken to already think it's a pretty good pint, but only one way to find out. Quite hard to assess, that one is. I think it's borderline between a very good pint and a creamer on my American scale. But I'll tell you what, because of that wonderful welcome, I'm going to rate it a creamer. Anyway, this meet and greet or photograph session after I've done the Instagram review is going to go on forever. So forgive me if the arrival at the next pub is a little bit tardy just for a change. And I have to remind you, Muttonistas, this is a Thursday night, working day tomorrow. God knows what it's going to be like on Friday and Saturday evenings and Saturday afternoon. Oh well, better make sure that I'm racing into form as this pint is. The Muttonistas here are absolutely hammering it. And as we come to the end of the pint, I did actually notice that there was quite a lot of food being served. I hope they managed to get the glassware and the food washed in separate washers. I didn't ask. I might find out later, I might not, but obviously that can be quite a factor in these situations. But I'm so pleased to see so many Muttonistas here, and they're all on the correct beverage as well. And actually, as I get through the pint towards the bottom, I think my just about nudging it into creamer status is accurate. It has improved a lot. Anyway, I'd better get on with this because I've got 1,000 people to greet, do my Instagram reel, and then we'll be off to a pub that a lot of you have requested, the Long Haul. Right, Muttonistas, the long haul, my final pub of night one, my second pub of night one. I don't know how many people will be in here because that did overrun at Bartley's and I'm 45 minutes late. I actually came in on one of those rickshaws. I got to see a bit of the city. The Muttonistas who took me there insisted that it was actually a quicker way of getting there. I'm not sure, but I suppose I saw Times Square in the open air. Anyway, looking forward to this one. Some people have suggested that it used to be top of the pops here and has gone downhill a little bit since then. As always, one way to find out.
Can I buy you Guinness in there?
Yeah?
On in.
Okay, Muttonistas, the long haul, my second pint, my second venue of night one, and I have a pint in front of me, slightly large head, not particularly excessive, but it doesn't make a huge difference that. I know some of you tight people will want them topped up because you're losing out a few cents or pennies on your pint, but I have to say that again the temperature here is good. Some of these places that I've been going to recently, the pints have been freezing cold, way too cold, and possibly to mask poor flavour. Everybody's been on the pints. I'm 45 minutes late as usual. Only thing I've been on time for in my life is my birth, but I'm hoping that the punters or the Muttonistas have drunk this one into form. Yeah, that's a nice pint. That's a nice pint. It's a creamer, that As I said, this pub really busy, working day tomorrow, some sore heads at work I think, but it is a Thursday and I know that the Irish weekend usually starts on Thursday and ends on Monday morning. Anyway, Muttonistas, absolute mayhem in here. I'm going to roll the video on till tomorrow. The pint has held firm, the head has remained intact, always very important, and I think it's going to be a bit of a mad night here. I'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of my New York vlog. Okay, Muttonistas, day 2 in New York and first pub of the day, one that a lot of you have been raving about. Grace is behind me. Last night was mental and it was a Thursday night. God knows what it's going to be like tonight and Saturday. I probably ain't seen nothing yet. The Muttonistas behind me have told me that the pint is being drunk well into form, so I'm glad to hear that. And if your recommendations are anything to go by, I should be getting the best pint I've had so far. But there's only one way to find out, Muttonistas. Let's head in and give the pint a try.
Absolute creamers. Welcome to New York, Mutton.
Okay, Muttonistas, that pint's got my name on it, and Grace's, of course. Okay, Muttonistas, Grace's, another pub with its own themed glassware. Imperial pint. I've only had one non-imperial, and that was for something other than Guinness, so there you are. Maybe it is the norm these days. 20 years since I've really been drinking stout in the United States. It looks good, it really does look good. A spotless head, correct size, nice temperature, maybe a little on the cold side, but I don't mind that. And a pub rammed full of people, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right on the Guinness. There are so many pints being sold here. I'd say about 80% of the pub are on it, and I guess those cheeky early exits from work on Friday afternoon are worth it when you can have a session like this. Anyway, let's give it a go. Yeah, I like that. There is still a little bit more bitterness than you'd want, but on my US scale, very comfortably a creamer. This is a nice pint. This is a couple I reviewed yesterday, just about were creamers on my American scale. Of course, I moved British pints up at a higher level, and Irish pint as well, to be called a creamer or absolute creamer. That it really does have to be good. But this is good Muttonistas, definitely a creamer on my American scale. Of course, I do film these Instagram and YouTube things almost simultaneously, one after the other, and quite a crowd here, but thankfully everywhere I go, I've written in advance and they've set aside a little area for me to film. And again, it hasn't happened apart from the 2 reviews in Boston where I discarded the reviews where the head actually separated mid-drink. And if you can see here, the head is staying true. A little bit of cream on the glass. Usually the absolute creamers are absolutely walloped with it. But it is a good pint, this is Muttonistas. Quite a nice part of town, I have to say. Fairly young crowd, a lot of young professionals here. Not sure what they do, but I guess they have the ability to take time off. I do like to bring you a food segment in these vlogs, and New York has some of the most fantastic varieties of food that you can. I'll see if I can slip one in, maybe one of these Jewish delis that does salt beef sandwiches, or maybe something else that's a local speciality here, or some Asian food, because obviously there's a huge mixture of people from all over the world here. It is the multicultural city on the planet, I think. However, time is always a bit of a pressure on me here. I have so many people to meet and greet, and I will take photos and selfies with everybody because, you know, if you come to see me and I announce I'm coming, you deserve to see me. Anyway, Muttonistas, onwards and upwards with this, and on to the next venue. Well, after I've taken about 200 selfies. Well, Muttonistas, what about this Swift Hibernian, second pub of day 2 in New York, and what an atmosphere there is inside, a queue forming outside as well. Again, the Muttonistas hammering the Guinness into form, so it really should be a tasty pint in here. A lot of people have told me, including a lot of you, that this is one of the best pints in New York, so I do hope it lives up to its reputation. I've also been told that in terms of size, it's not huge, the bar, but thankfully the management have set a table aside because I think I'm going to have to wade through an army of Muttonistas here. I'm going to take a quick water break before I review the first pint. Have to have a clean palate, Muttonistas, but I'm really hoping that this is the place where I can give the pint the ultimate accolade. But you know, as always, I'll be fair and just with how I award the pint its status.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Muttonistas Swift Hibernian Lounge. What a gathering here. The queue outside, the pub absolutely packed, and well over half of the punters or Muttonistas on the Guinness. Such a rowdy, vociferous welcome. I hope these people consider joining me for the Manchester City games here in the Club World Cup. Anyway, the pint is just about settled. Let's give you a close-up. And of course they have their own glasses here, Swift Bar, and yet another imperial pint, very important. You really want your Guinness from a 20-ounce pint, not a 16-ounce one. I know sometimes in the States unavoidable, but here so far every single pint's been a 20-ounce. Good temperature, good looking head. If I can just hold it forward, I can't show you the top because well, I can actually. I can probably move the no, I can't move the camera over so easily, but I can tell you it's got no bubbles in it, a very important sign. Anyway, as always, the proof of the pudding or the proof of the stouting is in the drinking. This is the best one I've had in New York. And everybody's excited to hear how I award this. Now remember, I have an American scale which is not the same as the Irish scale, obviously, but in terms of what I'm having in America, it hits the border between creamer and absolute creamer, but because of the atmosphere in the pub, it always makes a big difference. So, Muttonistas, I'm going to call this an absolute cream. So, Muttonistas, what a cracking atmosphere we have in here. This is what a night out at the pub should be like. The Guinness flowing through the lines and the punters drinking that Guinness into form and everybody having a great time. Now, apparently, this pub gets through quite a lot of kegs every week. Was it about 40, you said?
On a good week.
Yeah, on a good week, 40 kegs. That's a good pull through, that is it. And it is very important as well. Temperature, again, quite important. And a lot of the pubs I've been to in the New York and Boston area, the pints have been unnecessarily bitter, too bitter. There should be some bitterness in a Guinness, but the balance is quite good here. Maybe there's somewhere else in the city that's going to surpass this, but so far this is the best. I'll be back with you when I get to the end of the pint.
Oh, Pete. Sorry. Okay, got it. Got it.
Okay, Muttonistas, what a wonderful time we had at Swift Hibernian. Thankfully tomorrow is only a 3 pub day, and thankfully this next stop, even though it's one of the most famous and traditional bars in New York, is a 1 pint stop. So I'm just going to bring you the YouTube video and not the Instagram. Of course, viewers on Instagram will get the photos. McSorley's, anyway. Established donkeys years ago. I'll have to find out exactly when I go in, and they only serve light ale and dark ale, but accept cash only. So there's probably a reason why people come here and put up with that, probably because their beverage is very good. I'm going to go for the light ale when I go in because it's the sort of thing I like. If I have like a malty dark ale, I do prefer it served on cask. I mean, they may serve it on cask for all I know, but I would be a bit surprised.
Oh,
hello.
You're a legend.
Hello.
Do you hear it? Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
This is the man of Jason.
Hi. Well, Muttonistas, I did mention to people maybe not the best idea to come here because it's a small pub and it's packed with regulars, but everybody's come here anyway, so we're going to have another great mini session here at McSorley's. I believe that the glasses of beer are very small, so I can actually try both the light and the dark. Okay, Muttonistas, the legendary McSorleys. Just light ale and dark ale here. I'm going to try the light first. I've no idea how strong these beers are, I might ask. I'm guessing they're like weak session beers, but they're only served in small glasses. Atmosphere here and the decor is absolutely terrific. It's like an old school bar in Ireland, but because they're serving up small glasses, it's more like what you get size-wise in Spain. Anyway, the light ale first. So it's come from a keg, it's quite fizzy. It's also quite hoppy, I really do like that. Very, very light in terms of alcohol, I can tell, but I quite like this, and I wouldn't complain if I got this in Britain. Okay, yes, I prefer cask delivery, but for keg ale, it is actually very much like an old-fashioned English IPA. And now for the dark ale. Now, a lot of you are going to say, oh, Mutton, where's the Guinness, where's the Guinness? They don't serve it here, just these two things. And I do like going to places which serve a very small range of products, but particularly well. Will it taste like a German Dunkel beer? Will it be like a malty bitter from England? Well, I don't know. It's actually halfway in between. It's got some characteristics of those German dark beers, but at the finish there's quite a bit of maltiness which I wasn't expecting. I do like that in a bitter, again on cask, but I have to say, whilst this is perfectly pleasant, the light ale definitely gets my vote. Anyway, one of the patrons or owners of the place, or the manager, is going to talk to us about the history, because it's too much for me to be able to swallow and then regurgitate. Okay, Muttonistas, I'm going to give you a potted history of the establishment. First of all, the big picture over there, invitation to the opening of the Brooklyn Bridge. And in the background there, Harry Houdini's handcuffs. I'm not a big fan of escapology, but he was the best in the business. And a chair that was sat in by Abraham Lincoln, because the previous occupant of the chair, Peter Cooper of the Cooper University faculty, wouldn't let anybody else sit there apart from Abraham Lincoln when he made a speech. And I don't know if you can pick out the wishbones over here. When American soldiers went to fight in World War I, they were all given a free chicken dinner on the house, and they all were given, or shall we say, a wishbone was kept to represent the people who'd gone over from this area. So the wishbones were kept on top of the bar, and the ones that stayed were for the soldiers who never came back. Obviously a number did, because thankfully the American soldiers had missed most of the atrocities earlier on in that war, like the Battle of the Somme, where people just piled forward to gain a few hundred metres of territory. There is a picture of the famous John McSorley himself, the founder of the bar. And the bar itself, what a bar steeped in history. 1854 it was open. That is incredible. Anyway, fantastic little boozer, and I say the pale ale, the light ale, is the winner here. And before I go, the house special snack, which is like quite a strong cheddar with onions and a beer-infused mustard, a bit like an English mustard. Anyway, Muttonistas, I will now head off to the Grafton.
Let us know when to smile.
Right, Muttonistas, the Grafton, the final pub of day 2 of my New York tour. Some pretty horrible music being played by a car that went past, but never mind. Inside, another absolute scrumload of Muttonistas waiting for me. Hopefully they're drinking the pint into form, as you'd hope for. And I had mixed reviews about this place, but everybody who is here and drinking the Guinness that I've met so far say it's a pretty good pint. Anyway, Muttonistas, as always, only one way to find out. Okay, Muttonistas, the Grafton, final pub of day 2, and there are these grueling 4-day pub visits. Obviously, the measures at McSorley were a bit smaller, thankfully. And thankfully, the pubs have been very hospitable and have fed me as required. Now, this was quite a late decision to come here. Glad I have done. Popular with Muttonistas, and I planned it so everywhere is a short walk away. 400 metres, said my phone, from McSorley's. Took me about 6 or 7 minutes, and some Muttonistas accompanied me. Now, on to the most important thing, the pint of Guinness. It looks pretty good. The head looks pretty good. Can I see any bubbles there? No, I can't see any bubble. The head is as smooth as a baby's bottom, which I know I'm not supposed to say in the US, but we say that in Britain. Anyway, time to do the taste. I know everybody's going to go wild here and then go berserk for the Instagram review, but let's see how it is. I would say about 70% of the pub are on it. Glad to see that. Men, women, young, old, fantastic. That is very nice, Muttonistas. It's very nice. It's smooth, it's not overly bitter. This has actually hit the border between creamer and absolute creamer. Well, and just like I said earlier when I was at Swift Hibernian, because of the cracking atmosphere, I'm going to say it's an absolute creamer. So there we go, close between a creamer and an absolute creamer. But don't forget, Muttonistas, the atmosphere and ambience in a pub does make a little bit of a difference. People say, oh, Mutton, why don't you score pints as, say, 8.6, 8.7, 8.8 or 7 point something? Well, first of all, that would require me to have an encyclopedic knowledge of everything I've reviewed before. And also, a pint that tastes slightly better than somewhere else maybe doesn't make up for the lack of atmosphere. Sure, a real vinegary sour one in a fantastically appointed pub will never be as good as a real creamer or absolute creamer. But here, it was very close, and I think the atmosphere made the difference. And of course, some of you will come and say, oh, I came here, it wasn't an absolute creamer. Well, it depends on the day, the time of year, how often it's being pulled through. And don't forget, when I'm coming to these pubs for meetups, they are absolutely rammed and everybody's on it. And in terms of busyness, well, everywhere's been busy, but I would say that here is actually, well, about the same as the Swift Hibernian, except it's a bigger pub. It's one of the reasons I came here, was supposed to come here to do a meetup, because of the amount of space they have. But they have a pretty good pint as well. And if that's how excited everybody got for my YouTube video, wow, they're going to go mental when I do the Instagram thing where I shout out good evening Muttonistas, because I think people really like that. I was discussing with the landlord about why everybody comes here to see me. Well, I'd like to think A, I produce good content, and B, it's quite authentic, and I try and bring what is a good night in a pub in Britain or Ireland over here to the States. And I know some people want to take me here, you should come here, you should come there, and I know a few people have said to me, oh, I've got a friend who owns a pub, he'll get in touch with me, and you have, if your pub has been left out on the list, it's possibly because more people have recommended other pubs, or more likely I've already actually set my schedule in stone, which does make quite a bit of a difference. Anyway, Muttonistas, I'm going to finish this pint, do my Instagram video, have my meet and greet, and then we'll roll the video on to day 3. Days 3 and 4 are going to be a little lighter, 3 pubs a day, 4 pints a day are brutal. I know some of you think, oh, it's a massive jolly. Oh, I can drink 8 pints in a day. Oh, sure, so can I can drink more than that. I don't always choose to drink more than that, but don't forget, I'm having to review. You lot can have your 9th, 10th, 11th pint, slur your words as much to, and nobody will care the next day. Anyway, Muttonistas, I will see you tomorrow after draining this mighty fine pint. Muttonistas, as I said at the beginning of some of these videos, not all of them, my footage was too long. I took too much footage. Well, maybe not, there's never such a thing as too much, but I've broken these videos down into small chunks. So I'm in Phuket at the moment, which will not relate to the end of most of these videos. I hope you enjoyed watching. Plenty more to come from my grand tour of Asia, but please remember until then to keep liking, keep sharing, keep subscribing, but most of all, don't forget, you can't beat a bit of mutton.